Okay, so this is my Gloomhaven setup. First, I've got my file folder, accordion style thingamajig here. And here are all my map tiles. This is alphabetical, so for setup it's really easy to pull those out. You don't have to kind of search for them quite as much. I also keep my rule book and sticker book. I've got the removable sticker set. I keep that in here. I do not keep the scenario book in here, I don't believe, just because it's a little thicker, and it makes this a little bit harder to close up because it's, I don't know, it just works better in the box. The other thing that I have in here is my Gloomhaven General Store. This is all of our items. Not the random items, I keep those somewhere else, but all of the normal items that are available in the store. And the way I have this set up is these are the business card holders, and they fit really well. You can fit 2, 3, 4, however many of each item are in there. And the way that I've got it set up is that all the items that are open for sale are facing forward, and then as you get further back in the book, you know, the items that haven't been unlocked yet are facing backside, and so it's really easy to see what you can and can't buy. And I really like this because when you've got a table full of players, I play with 4 people at a time. That's my group. There's actually 5 of us, so sometimes it's rotating. But it's easier to pass this around than a stack of cards, I think, and everybody can kind of see what they want. So that's that. And then again, all the map tiles are in there. Then my box. All right. Okay, so in the box I've got that scenario book. Because of this binding, it doesn't fit great in the accordion file folder thing, so I just keep it in here. There's plenty of room for it. Got my board. Got 2 of these boxes. These are bead organizers that I got from Michael's that cost, I want to say, $2.50 each, which is way cheaper than getting the Plano ones. And the way I've got it set up is I've got in this one the kind of like setup, the scenario setup stuff. So I've got all my overlay tiles in here, as well as the standees for the monsters in there. And then this one, this is kind of the gameplay one. So basically what happens is after setup, I kind of set this one off to the side and don't have to really mess with it. This is kind of the gameplay one for me. You've got all your, what are these stupid things called? Effects in here. In their own little bins, so I can just kind of yank them out and drop them on a card. I've got coins here, and then I've got the damage points here, and then the elemental stuff, the elemental infusions. Then the other thing I have in here are dice, lots of dice. I've seen other people doing it as well. Rather than using the actual damage tokens on the monster cards, what we like to do is have 1 die in their slot with how many hit points they have left. I find that that's a little bit easier for everybody at the table, since there are usually 4 of us playing. So I'm not constantly getting asked, how many points does that one have? How many? You know, it's just kind of annoying. This is a little bit easier to see, especially from a distance. You don't have to add up how many damage tokens are on there. And then when a monster takes a hit, you just kind of dial it down. So they go from 10 hit points to 6. You just kind of turn it. And that's that. So that's my other organizer box. Then I've got all this. We'll start with this. These are all my deck boxes. These are dead cards, so the ones that are tear-up cards, rather than tearing them up, we just kind of throw them in the black box. That means they're dead, in case we ever want to start from scratch again, which I can't imagine we will, because there's 90-some scenarios in this game. This is personal quest cards and random dungeon deck. It's kind of very minimally, not very often used. You know, we're not really going to use this until, you know, somebody new is unlocked and they've got to get a new personal quest. And then the random dungeon deck, again, we haven't really used that because there's enough scenarios in the game. This is our inactive road and city cards. These are the ones we have not unlocked yet, so they stay in here. And then when time comes to unlock another group of those, they're in here, easy to slide into the active road and city cards. Again, just when we start to play, just stick this out on the table and crack it open, and we'll complete our city event and our road event. This is a bunch of stuff. These are the battle goal cards, so obviously we need one of those for every scenario. The Bless and Curse cards for the player modifier decks and the monster modifier decks are in here. The reason they're all kind of together is because those are the ones that we want to have at hand during a scenario, or for every scenario at least. The other thing is that these are all the same size. So they actually fit in here sideways, which is cool. And they're pretty easy to sort out because I keep the random items still in their like little factory sleeve, because it's rarely used unless you get a treasure chest to open them. You know, it's so they don't need to be like quick at hand like the other ones. So that's all in there. In here, there's like a little spot, keep our dials for HP and XP, a couple spare Ziplocs in case something weird comes up. All our characters' miniatures are still in there. The one thing that I don't have super organized, but it works out fine because it's not a huge chunk, is our like the multi-tile overlays. I just keep in this Ziploc. There's not a million of them like there are of the single hex overlays, so I find it works out fine just to have these kind of doing their own thing. You know, a ton of boards don't even use these, so it's kind of one of the lesser used things, so I don't mind having it just in a Ziploc bag, and also it just fits really well right in there. All of our characters are in here. Inside of all of our characters' boxes, we just make sure that everybody keeps everything they need in there. So you got your own modifier deck, you got your sheets, you got everything. You keep your individual items in there, and then it packs away pretty nicely. I can't imagine that this will become unwieldy really unless somebody gets like a billion items, which kind of seems silly to me. I've got our sleeves for our monsters right in here. Okay. And then this is the handiest thing. I'll just kind of pick one at random. This is the Sun Demon. All of our monsters are in these CD cases according to the type of monster they are. So when I'm doing setup, I open the scenario book, I see, oh, we need Sun Demons, so I take this sleeve out. Oh, and there's also Living Bones in this scenario. I pull that out, and then it's really easy to have all that information together. So we've got our monster stat card in there. We've got our cards are in there. Our whole deck of cards is in there. And then got also our standees all stuck in there. So there's our Sun Demon. The other thing that I did, because I'm kind of blind and the room we play is not the most well lit, is I wrote the big initiative number on there in a paint pen really big so that I can see from a distance and everybody can see from a distance when we're sorting things out, rather than this little one. This little number is kind of hard to see for me, depending on how big the board is and where they are on the table. I'll just set that aside. Pack this back up in a minute. And then, we've got our elemental infusion card just kind of stuffed back here. The one thing that made this all work and fit the way that it does is I had to cut the original organizer to get this to where these sit in here width-wise. I just took an X-Acto knife and slid along the dividers that are already in this, that created enough width in the original plastic for these CD sleeves to fit in there really well. So that is how I keep my Gloomhaven, and it's worked really well for us. The CD sleeves are really handy when you're doing setup, and the deck boxes are nice because as much as anything, just the fact that they're labeled, the fact that you don't have to physically look at a card to decide what it is. If these are all just kind of, even in their own plastic bags, you have to kind of figure out, are these active, are these inactive, are these the ones we need right now? So those have helped. And then everybody to play with, their favorite thing is that, because it's just super handy. It keeps everything organized. I can just pass this around the room. I can be working on the setup while other people are working on getting their characters ready for a scenario. And if they want to buy some stuff, then they can just pass that around the table and figure it out without having to bother other people who are doing setup or whatever they're doing at a given time. So that's Gloomhaven. That's how I organize it. It doesn't all fit in the one box. It fits in the box plus the accordion file folder, and it is, to me, cheaper than the organizer inserts. The organizer inserts are cool, but they're kind of expensive, and I actually kind of prefer the CD sleeves personally to the way that anything else, any of the inserts that I've seen work to get the monsters organized, because there's just so many monsters, and being able to pull out a sleeve that has the cards, the standees, and that the stat sheet all together makes life way easier for me. I don't have to sort through stuff. So that's that. That's my Gloomhaven. Okay, bye.